Hello you guys, welcome back to the channel. So in today's video, we're going to go ahead and continue with our series on building a agentic system using LangGraph. Okay, so we're going to basically learn how to build agentic systems, and this is video number 3 of the series. We're going to go ahead and cover how does routing work, routing logic. Okay, so let me go ahead and explain all that to you. Basically, think of it like you have an AI agent. So this AI agent has a couple of capabilities or a couple of paths that it could take, right? So you have one main logic, right, that receives the user's query, and basing on the user's query, the agent is able to decide which path to take, which tools to use, which components to use, which nodes to go to, right, depending on the user's input. That's where routing logic comes into play. So that's what we're going to be covering in this video. So let's get into it. So this is the whole course, everything we're going to be covering. Okay, so we're going to be covering all the basics. We're going to be doing human in the loop, everything, but it's going to be project based learning, right? We're going to be building projects, and through building projects, I'm going to introduce all these individual smaller components. But in this case, I just want us to go ahead and learn first the very basics of everything. So in this video, we're going to be looking at what is routing, installing the different packages, loading our virtual environment, getting our Anthropic key, building a tools, binding tools, creating a graph, invoking the graph. You're going to see how routing works, right? You're going to be building a simple agent that has a calculator tool. Okay, so basing on the user's input, you can decide to use a calculator tool to do some mathematical operations, or to simply return a natural language response in case no tool is fit or is deemed fit to answer that specific question. Okay, so let's get into it. So the main things about routing logic is basically we have an intelligent worker. So this basically decides whether user's query needs a tool. If yes, what tool should be used. If a user query doesn't need a tool, then it can use a natural can give you a natural response using the LLM. So you need a special node called a tool node that handles all this logic. You also need a smart routing system that looks at each response and decides, does this need a tool? No tool is needed, then let's route this request. Something of that sort, right? If a tool is needed, let's use the tool and continue the conversation. That kind of logic. Okay, that's the whole point of a router. So router receives a user query, decides which path to go, either to go to path A or path B, depending on the user's question, right? So let's jump into see and eat, and let's learn a couple of things. So the first you're going to be going ahead and doing is learning how to install the different packages. You're going to install a package called python.env, and you're going to use this package to read environment variables that you're going to be seeing just in a second. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So I have created a simple Jupyter notebook right here called routing.iponb. Okay, that's the notebook I have, working from the same file that we had previously. So I'm going to go ahead and press Control B on VS Code to close the side panel. I'm going to add in a markdown here. I'm just going to be adding a header. This is going to be called, let's call this routing. Okay. So once we have that done, we add another one. I'm going to call this one installations. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and install a couple of things right here. So we're going to change this to be a Python cell. So change this to a Python cell. Click on this and then click change to a Python cell. Once it's a Python cell, you can go ahead and just use the exclamation mark and you say pip install and then python hyphen .env. So this is going to help to install different Python packages. In this case, you're going to install a Python package called .env. That's going to help us to read environment variables. Okay. So once we have that imported, awesome, you're good to go. So let's go ahead and actually bring in a couple of things that we are going to use. So let me just add in another thing right here, and this is going to be called importations. And for the importations, we're going to go ahead and do and import a couple of things. I'm going to say from langchain underscore core dot messages. I'm going to go ahead and import the human message. I'm also going to go ahead and import the AI message, and I'm going to go say from pretty printed. I'm going to go ahead and import pretty printed, just like this. And once I have this, I'm also going to say from dot env. I'm going to go ahead and import load.env. I'm also going to import the OS module. So let me run that and have all those imported. Awesome. So once those are imported, let's go ahead and just add in code here just to ignore some warnings. So let's say ignore warnings, just like this, ignore warnings. And for the ignore warnings code, what is I'm going to go ahead and do? I'm going to say import warnings. I'm going to say warnings dot filter warnings, and you're going to they're going to say ignore to ignore all the warnings, and let's run that. Okay, that's all you need to ignore all the warnings. So the next part you're going to go ahead and do is simply load env. So env stands for environment variable. So let's see the env that you're going to go ahead and load. So you're going to use the ampersand or the percentage sign. So it is shift and press 5 on your keyboard. I'm going to simply say reload text and then dot env, just like that. And then again, the ampersand or the percentage sign, shift and 5 on your keyboard, and then say dot env. That's all we need to do, and that's run that. And that's going to go ahead and load environment variables into our code. So what do we mean by environment variables? So I have a file here called .env. So I'm not going to open this file because it has my Anthropic API key that I don't want to reveal. But if you make sure that you have this file called .env, and I'll tell you what you should keep inside of this file just in a second. Also have a file called gitignore. So this gitignore files is going to have a bunch of things right in here. So you can just go online. Let me just show you how to get this ignore file. So I'm going to go in here and just say gitignore. So I'm going to say gitignore. Just go to gitignore.io. Once this website is loaded, type in the programming language that you are using. In this case, you're using Python. So type in Python, press enter, and then click on create. Once that's done, you're going to get all this. Press Control A to select everything. Control A, Control C to copy, and then go back in there, and then just paste it in here, right? So just paste your content in here. That's all we need to do. So this is going to go ahead and ignore the virtual environment folder and also .env file, because this .env file is going to consist of our environment variables, our secrets that you don't want to push into production. So you don't want to push into virtual control. Version control. Okay, so once you have this in there, once you have this virtual environment, what you need to go ahead and do, you need to say anthropic underscore API underscore key equals to, and then you pass in your API key here. So API key goes in here. That's all you need to do. So open up this file and then type, copy this, paste it in, equals to, and then a string. And then inside of the string, you need to add in your Anthropic API key. So how do you get your Anthropic API key? So just go on the internet, search for Anthropic, console.anthropic.com/login, and then go ahead and simply log in. I don't want to show you the whole process of this because they might change their website after maybe like after I finish uploading this video, making this whole section irrelevant, right? So I just want you to go there, go ahead, find out how to get the API key on your own. Once you go to this website, console.anthropic.com/login, create an account if you don't have an account, or log in if you have an account, use your Google account. And then once you have that done, go in there, get your API key, and then simply add it inside of your .env file in this specific format. Okay, so once you have that done, you need to go ahead, restart the kernel, and then run everything again just to load in those environment variables. Okay, there's another way you can load it using reload without having to without having to restart the kernel and all that. Yeah, but again, just put in the format that I have said, and then basically install everything, and then basically rerun everything again, and then restart the kernel, and then rerun everything just to be on the safe side. Okay, once you have that, you are good to go. So the next thing you're going to go ahead and do is, let's look, we have our Anthropic API key. The next thing is creating a tool. So let's go ahead and learn how to create that tool. So go back in here and let's just add another cell right here. And this, we're going to call it creating tool, just like that. Okay, this needs to be a markdown cell. So make sure that you, a Python cell instead of a markdown cell. So click on this and then select Python. Okay. Awesome. So once we have that done, now we need to go ahead and create a tool. So what is this tool going to do? So our tool is going to be a very simple tool. In fact, it's just an addition operation tool. So accept two integers, right? This could be floats, but I'm just going to use integers for now. Add the two, add them up, and then return the sum of their results. That's all this tool does. So let's go in here and just create this tool right here. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say def. I'm going to create a function right here, def, and I'm going to call it addition. And I'm going to take in A, which is going to be of type integer, B of type integer. This could be float if you want to. And then say it's going to return integer. So integer plus integer is equals to integer. So I'm going to go ahead and pass in a tool description. This is very important. If you fail to pass in a tool description, you might get errors. You will get errors in the upcoming sections. So what I'm going to go ahead and do, add in a description of this tool. What does this tool do? Your description should be very detailed, short, and straight to the point, because you also have context window. You don't want to go ahead and fill tool description within your context window and then have no space for other important stuff. So we're going to go ahead and simply say this tool is to be used to add two numbers together. That's what this tool is used to do. Add two numbers together. So once you have the tool description in there, I'm going to go ahead and simply say return, and it's going to take A plus B. That's all this tool does. If you call the tool, you pass in two integers, it returns the sum of those integers. Okay, so that's all this tool does. Now, once you have the tool created, let's see what's next on the list. The next is binding tools to our chat model. So we need to take a tool, and then which is the addition tool in this case, and then attach to the chat model so the model can know that it can make use of this tool. So the first we need to do in this case is, first of all, we need to go ahead and create a chat model. So let's say binding tools to chat model. Okay, so that's all we need to do. So I'm going to go down here, and I'm going to go ahead and import a couple of things. I'm going to say from lang chain anthropic, I'm going to go ahead and import chat anthropic. So once I have that import, I'm going to say model is going to be equals to chat anthropic, and then I'm going to go ahead and specify the temperature, and temperature is going to use 0.0, and then I'm going to specify the model that we want to use. I'm going to use Claude hyphen 3 opus hyphen 2024 0229. I think that's the model. Yeah. So Claude 3 opus and then hyphen 2024, which is this right here, and then 0229. Awesome. So once I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and pass in my API key. And this is going to be equals to os.environment get, and I'm going to go ahead and simply get anthropic underscore API underscore key. And this anthropic key is the name. Remember, we typed in something instead of a virtual environment, instead of a .env right here. So it's more like something like we did something like anthropic and then equals to, and then your API key, right? So whatever you typed in this section before the equal sign is what you keep in here within your virtual environment, right? So instead of a virtual environment, you have this kind of format, right? This something and then equals to, and then your anthropic API key. Whatever you typed in here in the place of anthropic API key is what you place in here. This could be anything, but just use the word anthropic API key just to make sure it's very descriptive. Okay, so once this model is loaded, now we're going to go ahead and attach our tool to it. So model dot model, let's call this model underscore with underscore tools. It's going to be equals to model dot bind underscore tools. You're going to go call this, pass in a list as the argument, and you're going to pass in our addition tool that we have created. That's all we need to do. So model, okay, I need to run this and then make sure I also run this. That's all we need to do. So that's basically we created a model here with the anthropic anthropic 3 opus model. And then finally, we just simply bind the tool to that specific model that we have here, which is just basically a chat model. Okay, so once we have that down, let's go ahead and see what's next on the list. So the next thing is we're going to go ahead and create the graph. So how do we go about creating the graph? That's actually very simple. So go ahead, and we have done this in another video, so you guys should have a bit of similarity to this. So let's go actually make this more descriptive. Creating graph. Okay, so now to create a graph, we're going to go ahead and do a couple of things. So let's say from LangGraph dot graph, I'm going to go ahead and import state graph. I'm going to import message graph. I'm also going to import end. I'm also going to import start. Once I'm also going to say from LangGraph dot pre-built, I'm going to go ahead and import tool node, and I'm also going to go ahead and import tools underscore condition. That's all. So I have those two things imported right there. Okay, these two lines of imports. And then once I have that, I'm going to go ahead and build a tool node. So let's go ahead and add it right here. So this is going to be a tool node. Okay. So for this tool node, what I'm going to go ahead and do is very, very simple. So I'm going to go ahead and create a function right here. I'm going to grab a function def and then call tool underscore calling. Let's call it tool calling underscore node. And it's going to go ahead and take in a state, and this is going to be equals to the message state, state right here. So we need to import message state. So we need to import message state as well. Okay, so yeah, thus we need that, and then say message state. That's all. What this simply does is simply return a list of a dictionary having a key called messages, and then messages is going to be equals to our model with tools dot invoke. And you're going to go ahead and invoke it. You're going to pass in state. We're going to get the messages key messages. Yeah, that's all we need to do, and let's run this. So this node, this function is going to be using as a part of a node that's going to be calling our model with tools, passing in the state message, right? Awesome. So once we have that, now let's go ahead and do the graph itself. So let's say graph itself. Okay, I don't know if that's a really good comment or documentation. Anyway, let's get into it. So we're going to say builder is going to be equals to our state graph, and then you're going to call this and pass in our message graph, our message state, not graph, our message state, just like that. Once we have the builder, we can begin to attach to it different nodes. So builder.attach dot add node. Okay, so node, you're going to give it this node a name. We're going to call it tool underscore calling underscore node, and this tool calling node is going to be referring to the tool calling of function that we just defined above here, right? So this is the same thing right here. Okay, now let's go ahead and add. Let me just close this so that you guys can see this clearly. So once we have that, I'm also going to go ahead and add in another node. So I'm going to say builder.add underscore node, and I'm going to say tools, just like that, tools. And I'm going to add in a tool calling node. So I'm going to say tool node, and I'm going to pass in a list of tools. In this case, I only have the addition tool. That's all. If you have multiple tools, you add them along. So let's say that you go up here and you did multiple tools, right? So you have a division tool, subtraction tool. You add all of them in here. You update this as well, and also you update this as well. But what is commonly done is that you create a simple list and you add all these tools, function names to the list, and then simply just pass it in here and in here. That makes your code much simpler and avoids redundancy or rewriting stuff. Okay. And in case you need to change anything, you can change that thing in one specific place. Okay, so once we have that, I'm going to say builder dot add an age to our graph. So the age is going to start, once you start a graph, you're going to have an age that goes to the tool underscore calling underscore node. That's it. And let me just type this out and explain to you just in a second. So once we have that, you're also going to go ahead and do the phone. So I'm going to say builder dot add underscore conditional ages, and then you're going to go ahead and simply pass in here. You're going to say tool calling node. So from tool calling node, you're going to go into tools underscore conditions. So tool condition is something that we imported from LangGraph. You see, you have it imported right there. You're going to specify it right here. So, the tool condition function evaluates the chart outputs and routes conditionally. That's what it does. So, if a tool call is detected, right, that's what this simply does. If a tool call is detected, route to the tool calling node. If no tool call is detected, route directly to the end. So that's what this does, the tool condition. So basically evaluates the output of the chat model. So whether the chat model say we should use a tool or we shouldn't use a tool, right? So basing on that, it evaluates and redirects chooses the right path to go through. That's what this tool condition does. Okay. So once we have it, we're also going to say builder dot add in our last age right here, and you're going to call it the tools age, which is going to be the part where the tools are. And then from there we can route to end. So once we have it, I'm going to say graph equals to builder dot compile, just like that. We call this. Okay, so once we have that, we're simply going to go ahead and simply run it, and that the graph is created. Now let's try to visualize the graph, and I'm going to use the visualization to explain this to you in much detail, right? It's much easier to understand the visuals than the code, at least. Okay, in my case at least, maybe it might be different for you. Anyway, go with what works for you, right? So ipynb dot display, I'm going to import display, and I'm also going to import image. So once we have those two things imported, I'm going to use them right here. I'm going to pass in the image, and I'm going to pass in the graph dot get underscore graph, call that dot draw this right here, and then call that as well. So that's going to visualize for us the graph, and let me just use this to explain things to you. So we have the start, which is what we go in here. That's what the first node you have, the first age. So start, And then from there, you're going to go to the specific node. So from start, you're going to the tool calling node. From the tool calling node, we have two conditional edges. Remember, we talk about different types of edges, conditional edges and normal edges, right? So we're going to go through a condition. This is a conditional edge. So we might go this way or we might go this way. There's no fixed path, right? So it depends on the output of the tool calling, of the tool condition, what this decides, right? So in case, let's assume that the output decides that we go for a tool call. So we go for a tool call and then we must end. So this is not a conditional edge, just a normal edge. But if we go this way, we just go this way and then simply go to the end. That's basically how it works. Okay, and this is the code for it. You can go through the code and then gain a bit more understanding of things. Okay, awesome. So once we have that done, we are ready to go. So I'm going to go down here and let's see one more thing that I need. Okay, let's see one more thing that I need right here. And let's see what we do. So now we're going to go to invoking the graph. So just add it right here. Invoking, let me just get the spelling right. Invoking graph. So what does this simply do? So invoking graph, what it simply does, we need to call that graph and pass with some information. So I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to simply say messages is going to be equals to, and then create a list right here. And I'm going to say human message, and I'm going to pass in the context, the content. The content, I'm going to ask it, what is the product? What is the sum, right? You only have the sum function. What's the sum of 20? Let me get that right. So 20 and 40. That's with 60. All right. So that's basically the input, and then I can give it a name. The name can be maybe human, right? So this is a human message, or you can put your own name if you want to. That's all good. So when we say messages, it's going to be equals to graph.invoke, and then you're going to pass in a dictionary. We're going to say keys messages, and then you're going to pass in the value as messages, which is what we have up here. Right. So you could have multiple messages in here. In this case, you have only one message in this list, right? So once we have that, let's run this. Okay, so this is going to go ahead and call the graph, passes into the graph. It's going to go through the tool calling node, and it's going to decide basing on this. So the LM is going to look at this and then tell whether we need a tool call or we don't need a tool call. And then depending on that, we go either this route or this path. Anyway, we have an error right here. Let's try to fix that error right here. So it says expected messages, expected dict AI contents. Okay, let's look at this closely. And let's see where I probably made an error. So human message right here, and then graph.invoke. We pass in messages and then message. Okay, that's fine. And then messages here as well. That's also fine. Okay, so let me see. It says expected dict got a list of messages, and then okay guys, so I figured out what the error was. So this is supposed to be a dictionary, right? And we're returning a list. That's why we get that warning. So once we have this, let's run all this again, right? Now everything, build a cell again, and then finally we can go ahead and run this part again. So that needed this up here. The return of the tool call needs to be a dictionary and not a list of dictionary. Okay, so that's, you need to keep that in mind. So once it's done executing, we're going to go down here and we're going to go ahead and print the content out. So I'm going to go ahead and simply say for m in messages, and I'm going to get the messages key just like that. And from there, we're going to go ahead and say m dot pretty print, pretty print, just like that, pretty print, and then run that. Okay, so basically you can see what the tool. So let's look at it. The human message goes, what is the sum of 20 and 40? So you can see now the model decides, based on this query, that we can use a calculation tool. So based on that, the calculation tool is called, and the arguments are passed in. The first argument is 20, which is here. The second argument is 40. So this all picked up by the LLM from the query, and then passed into our tool call, and then the tool call outputs the number, which is the sum of the two numbers, or the sum of the arguments that the LLM passed in. Right? Awesome. Now let's test this out again without with something that does not require a tool use. So I'm going to go ahead and simply copy that and paste it over here. And let's ask it what is, let's say, what is the capital city of Kenya, right? I'm currently in Kenya, and the capital city of Kenya is Nairobi. Okay, hope you're aware of that. So the capital city of Kenya is Nairobi. Again, run this again, and then we post that in here, and let's print out the output and see. So in this case, we don't expect the LLM to be able to use the agent to use a tool call, right? It shouldn't go this path. Instead, it should go straight here. So it uses the LLM to answer that question and then go and then end the graph execution, right? There's no need for a tool call. So that's basically what this is right here. So let's see what it does. So the human asked for the capital city of Kenya. The thinking, right? The user has asked for the capital city of Kenya. None of the provided tools are relevant for answering the question, as they only include a tool for adding two numbers together. The capital city of Kenya is factual piece of information that I could provide, that I could be able to provide directly without need for any additional tool. So this LLMs are thinking, and it goes ahead and say the capital city of Nairobi, the capital city of Kenya, is actually Nairobi, right? Okay, I was about to say the capital city of Nairobi is Kenya. Okay, my bad. So the capital city of Kenya is Nairobi. It is the largest city in Kenya, and then is an economic and political hub. Awesome. So the answer is absolutely correct. So good. That's basically how we can do different routings. And again, in this case, you're using only one tool, which is additional tool, right? You can add multiple tools. You can create a tool, bunch of tools, right? Division tools, multiplication tools, do any kind of tool you want, API calling tools, any kind of tool you want. You can just create a Python function, make sure that you have a doc string describing what the tool does, and then write the tool logic. That's basically it, right? So okay, there are more advanced things you can do, like handling exceptions and other tool like things like that. All that will cover in the future videos. But for now, you can build basically any agent with multiple tools as much as you want. Let's just assume that these tools don't have any kind of errors or exceptions, right? Awesome. And this tool can, the agent can decide when to use a tool and when to just use a normal natural language response without using a tool, like in this case of asking the capital city of Kenya. So guys, that's all for this video, and I hope you found this video helpful and you have learned something that's something useful from this video. And again, yeah, in the next video, we're going to go ahead and cover something more interesting, which is working with memory in agents. This is very, very important part of agents. So imagine an agent or an AI agent or chatbot that does not can't recall your previous conversation. That agent to be really boring, right? So memory is very crucial part of agents. In the next video, we're going to cover how to work with memory in agents. You're going to understand the theoretical bit of things. And then the upcoming video after that, you're going to actually go into the code and get your hands dirty writing code, implementing memory in agents, right? So that's basically it. So we have many types of agents, many types of memory, long-term memory and short-term memory. We'll look at all that in the upcoming video. So guys, that's all for this video, and thank you guys so much for watching. And if you want to connect with me, you can find me on Medium, where I write articles about these videos. In fact, if you go on Medium, you can find this is an article. Okay, this is the next coming videos article about memory. So I already written the article. And if you're curious, you can go ahead on Medium and read this article way ahead of this video. Okay, so it's ahead of everyone. And if you're watching the video, things are much easier for you to comprehend and understand. Okay, so there's also articles for this specific video. If you are into it, you can just go to Prince Cramper on Medium and find those. Okay, so in case you're in a hurry, you on YouTube, you can find me on Code with Prince. Hopefully, where you're watching this video, on Twitter or AKA X, you can find me at Prince_Cramper. Okay, Cramper with a smaller lowercase k. So that's basically my. And you can also find me on LinkedIn if you have any project ideas, you want any suggestions to the video, you want us to work collaboratively on any project, any ideas, anything that you want us to work on, you can reach me. You can reach out to me on Medium at Prince Cramper. Okay, much further to reply to people on LinkedIn than on LinkedIn and on X than on other platforms. Especially email, I can be a bit slow, but if you want me to you want to get a quick response, get to me through email or X. I'll respond to you much faster. So that guys, that's all for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Again, don't forget to like the video, to share it to all your friends who you think might find it helpful. And if you want to support the channel further, you want to buy me coffee, the links will be in the description of the video. Okay, so the easiest way you can support is just by liking the video, right, and subscribing to the YouTube channel. Okay, most of you haven't subscribed yet, so if you subscribe, the better the content will get over time, right? So thank you guys for watching, and see you in the next one. Keep safe.